Welcome to Clear Cut Chats. With you today is me, Ilya Kravchuk, and joining me today is a guest that I was very excited to host, and his name is Pradesh. Um, Today, we are going to talk about a very interesting topic. I believe a topic that not so commonly talked about on most entrepreneur podcasts and such.
Yep.
Because of the nature of the industry being very exclusive and very difficult to break into. So on Clear Cut Chats, I am very fortunate to be able to host some of the most brightest minds and entrepreneurs that I get to meet throughout my journey. Without further ado, I would like to ask you, Pradesh, to give us a little bit of an intro about yourself in terms of maybe how did you embark on the path of entrepreneurship, and in general, a little bit of a background in terms of your professional career. And I guess it would end with how did you transition into the industry that you are in now, which is oil and gas. Please.
Sure. Thanks. So, started when I was young. I think the kicker or the main point was when I think it all starts from family, right? Some people have family discrepancies and some people have other kinds of situations. But for me, my family was good. We had a good upbringing. Everything was good. But the real kicker was, I remember we were at 99 Speed Mart in the car. And I told my dad, I said, I want Ferrero Rocher. And that time, the 3-piece Ferrero Rocher was like, I don't know, 3 ringgit, 4 ringgit or something. And my dad said it's out of budget and it's something that we cannot get now. So to me, that was like a real blow. I was young, very young, maybe, 10, 11, 12 years old. And I was like, this is not how I want my future family legacy to be. Not doing or pushing anything for what my dad has done, but he's a great man and he pushed things, got us a really comfortable life. But to me, I wanted to make sure that, look, if my kids want things in the future, if it's viable, then not a problem. I don't have to look at the bank account, right? If it's non-viable, then no such thing, right? So I think that's where things got kicked off. I was studying in Petronas when I was 18. Got a scholarship to Cambridge as well. So I was actually on the path to do astrophysics and theoretical physics and so on. But also realized, like, during education times, that it's not something that I want to get into because
Wow. Astrophysics?
yeah,
Okay.
look, I have a tattoo
What?
of a
What's
physics.
that? What does that say?
This is relativity.
Wow.
Yeah, so I was really, really into physics.
So you're like a math geek?
Physics geek.
Physics geek.
Math is different. Come on.
Okay, all right.
Math is different. Come on.
Cool. That's so cool. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, so
Continue.
from there, realized like this is not the path of financial freedom that I want to get into. So I started for fun teaching some friends physics, and they were like, it started to grow too much. And it came to a point I said, look, I just want to play my League of Legends. I just want to play games and I don't want to do this anymore. And someone said, look, if I pay you $50, are you willing to just teach me like for the week? I was like, look, more than happy to do that. Some money on the side, right? From there, more people started to come, and it kind of turned into a not so legal tuition center kind of situation.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's
So you had
pretty
a
much
bunch
where
of students coming to you and you were teaching them physics.
yes, we were only doing physics. Eventually, it grew to like a little bit more niche subjects and so on, like further maths and all these kind of things.
Oh,
But
you
that was
had-
not me. That was not me.
You had quite a reputation then.
Yes, for physics, pretty much in uni, in
Wow,
school, high school
interesting.
as well.
Well, I guess since you got a scholarship, you had a reputation.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Even in
Very
high school.
interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah.
So from being somebody, I would say, gifted. I mean, maybe not everybody is, gets scholarships. So fair to say, somebody being gifted in that way, and can I say that you had a pretty straightforward path in the science direction?
Yes. it was very straightforward, very clear cut. Until it just hit the point where I said, look, I'm more focused on growing my legacy and finances rather than actually maybe wanting to do research and be a lecturer. So that's when I decided to drop out.
So you didn't see any money in the science field or maybe innovation at some point or theoretics?
No, I did not. What I found out was that the path would probably be a lecturer and on the side doing research. And I mean, not dissing anybody in that side, right, that field, but to me, it's just not what I wanted. I didn't
Yeah,
think I could
fair.
have built a legacy out of it. Yeah.
Okay, fair. All right. And from science, you were on such a clear path. And it must have taken you quite a bit of courage to completely change your trajectory, because here is something maybe more or less secure.
Yes.
And you decided to just jump out and become an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Did that happen because of this illegal tuition center?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes and no. So I was confident I could do something when I left because I used to fight professionally as well, right? So I was in martial arts for a long time, since I was
Okay.
4. So I went to like a martial arts gym and I started working there and so on. So I thought like, look, that could be my career path, getting into a martial arts gym and, maybe, because I got some ownership as well. So I was like, I'm going to run the show and things just going to be fine. That's my entrepreneurship journey. I'm going to be a pro fighter and all these kind of things. But a couple of years down the road, went into a car accident. 2 slip discs up here, 1 slip disc down there. And
What?
yeah, we're not fighting anymore.
Okay. All right. The path diverged from science to martial arts.
Yep.
And where did you find yourself going next? And
From
why?
there, a friend came up to me and said they wanted to start a insurance business because it was a family business actually, but he doesn't want to follow his parents anymore. He wants to break out of it, start an insurance business. I had some money, right, from the gym and everything. So I was like, look, because I also decided to leave the gym and I had some money compiled. So I was like, look, if I invest in your insurance company, then I just want to be a partner and maybe we could then grow in the financial industry. Halfway through, I realized that there might have been a discrepancy in the market. So, with some excess money, I also worked part-time. Not say work part-time, I worked full-time while doing the business part-time technically to fund a little bit things on the side so that I could build a tech platform, a fintech platform, which eventually, after about 2 years plus of building and pitching around, got acquired by a bank.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool. So was that an exit?
That was my exit.
So that was your first exit. How old were you?
25?
25 years old.
24,
Wow.
25?
Okay, not that long ago as well.
Not that long ago.
Wow. How did that feel?
Sweet and bitter at the same time.
Sweet and bitter at the same time, because you had to let something go,
No,
but you got a lot of money for it. Like the sweet and bitter.
not really. I was happy to let it go because the goal was finances and legacy.
To
at the end of the
exit,
day.
okay.
Yeah, to exit. The goal was to exit. So letting it go was not a problem, but there was a little bit of things in terms of documentation that I just maybe too trusting or so on with my partner. Later on, we found out that my partner and his family had like a different kind of agreement on the back, and it's probably, I think you know this about me, but I don't really read documents all that well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, you're in an industry where the document reading is probably very important. I'm very interested to find out how does that work in your industry as well.
Correct. I became better later on.
Okay, all right.
During this time, back then.
Okay.
Back then, young, wild, free, I was like, look, this is what we can do.
Not
So-
bothered with all the
Not bothered.
paperwork and all the red tape.
Correct. So in
Okay.
the end, we found out that after selling over the IP of the company, the tech side, I had to split it with him and his family also. So what I was supposed to make was only like maybe 1/4, like 1/4 of what I should have actually
So
made.
that's the bitter part
That's
of
the
it.
bitter part.
Okay.
Yeah. It's not so much about the money because it's fine, right? Like, I came from average. So anything above that is already good for me. It was more of the principles and what happens. And
True. I guess it doesn't feel good to be. Did it feel like betrayal?
Yeah. Yeah,
Then it definitely doesn't feel nice to be betrayed.
Yeah,
in that
definitely
way,
not. Like-
because somebody you trusted, and then when money comes into play, people change. Right?
Correct.
People change their way. And when you made that exit, were you already, envisioning or planning to transition into the next business?
Not at all.
Not at all.
Not at all.
You were like, okay, I'm gonna think what I want to do next.
Yes, I was trying to figure it out. But see, the thing is, like, things happen quite fast. Like everyone says, like a year is a long time, but it's actually pretty fast. In the big picture of things, I feel like a year can pass by really fast, right?
Yeah.
So in the
Yeah.
process of me being unhappy about what just happened, at the same time, I got an opportunity from my current partner, who was actually looking for an investment in tech. But I was like, I think I have good connections and good network, and I like the idea. So why not I actually come on in as a partner, and we grow the company from there. And that's how Blue In pretty much started, our AI tech company.
The AI tech company.
Yes.
And at the moment, what does that AI tech company do?
So we do two main things. One is we are in the recognition and security sector. So we do facial recognition. We can do predictive technology. We can also do hazardous, recognition. And on the other side of things is we have clients that come to us and say they want to do one-off AI builds, but they don't know what they want.
Custom AI builds.
Yes. So they come and say, hey, we want to build an e-commerce platform, but we want to be different from everyone in the market, and we want to have some kind of AI integration, but we don't know. So we're like, look, okay, we'll have a team to go through what we think we can build in terms of AI, different AI programs to integrate into your system, including the base platform. And from there, we will just propose it to them. And if they like it, we can white label it. If they like it so much, then they buy the IP from us. If they're okay with the product, they white label it, and we can then sell it to other people as well.
Custom software development.
Custom software
in
development.
general. And is this a company that you've been running for some time?
Yes. So Blue In should be 3 years old now.
Nice.
Yeah.
And so tell me, man, not gonna beat around the bush too much. How did you actually get yourself into the industry that you're in now? And is that what you are currently focusing on? Being an entrepreneur from different disciplines, being a person with so many diverse backgrounds, I would say, and being a person who has had multitude of different experiences from various industries. Why did you pick oil and gas? And what is your vision when it comes to that industry? Do you also want to build a company? Do you want to add some kind of value? What is the purpose? Like, what are you attracted by? Yeah.
So I've always liked oil and gas. I like things that are challenging, and I like things that can also be fun at the same time. I think oil and gas can be both.
Fun.
Yeah, fun.
Oil and gas is fun.
It depends on who you talk to,
Oof.
but I think it could really be fun, right?
Okay,
I
alright.
mean, I'm enjoying myself with all the pressure and everything, but I'm still enjoying myself.
Okay.
So since I was in high school, I've always wanted to get into oil and gas. First thing is, of course, as usual for me, being young, I was like, look, money, oil industry is filled with money, right? That's one thing. But it eventually grew to become more about being able to actually maybe have a vision to change something in the industry. So the goal was, first, I got to get a foothold in the oil and gas industry. And that took me about 3 years.
From the moment that you discovered this inspiration to build your life, I guess, and alongside it within the oil and gas industry, did someone inspire you? Like, how did you get this idea in the first place? Do you have somebody in your vicinity that was in oil and gas? And then maybe an uncle, maybe a family friend, maybe in general somebody you met, and they were from the industry. Like, in general, when most people think of oil and gas, you have this kind of unapproachable industry, right? This kind of what do you call this? Predispositions, right? That the industry is very unapproachable. The industry is only meant for like politicians, right? Or it's only meant for big companies that are already having their own jets, and maybe they need to buy their own oil at that point. I mean, in general, I don't really meet a person every day who even thinks that that kind of industry is possible to enter.
Yep.
And those people can be people with money as well, right? People with connections, but still, many people would actually not, I believe, not want to embark on that journey because of the maybe the steep barriers in it, some of the glass ceilings, because it's so geopolitical and it is so complex on its own, right? So I'm trying to understand what was it that gave you that spark and allowed you to see some kind of possibility for you?
So since young, it was just an interest, right? I mean, watching movies and everything for me, it started kind of from there.
Okay.
Just about having the kind of, it's a big industry. You have the money, you get the private jets, you fly around, all those kind of things. I mean, we're not there yet, but like that's always the big dream at the end of the day.
True, true.
But I was hustling since I was in my early 20s, at least until now. So I was trying to do whatever I could do to make money. So I started to also work with companies that work with family offices. I started to broker deals, try to help family offices become an external negotiator for certain deals that they want to broker. We at one point we got into a really big brokership deal where it was like 200 million US dollars worth. It was a family office looking to buy over an airport in Barcelona. And as an external point of contact for negotiation, I was the guy to do it. So with that, it kind of opened up more doors in terms of being able to network with family officers and them knowing me
I
being a person in the
see.
industry. So those people already have big network, big connections. A lot of them are in oil and gas also. So it's like kind of like a 1 foot into the door kind of situation with those people. They bring me for certain levels of negotiations and I ask them, hey, like, what can I do for you that's also in oil? And things slowly moved on from there until I, like 3 years ago, got the opportunity to work on my first deal.
Wow.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
Well, that's the story, right?
From you being in high school,
Yeah.
right? High
Yeah.
school and having the vision, the money,
Yeah.
the jets, the
Yeah.
cars, to how many years passed from that moment to the moment that you closed your first deal? I think this is something very interesting.
Yeah.
Because all of the allure and all of the potential reward in the industry is definitely sounds good and looks good, but I believe the people that do feel like they can make it in the industry,
Right.
they often have a misconception of how long it takes and how hard it is, right? Before you delve into the actual story, just want to understand how long did that take between your inspiration to the moment you made the first deal?
Okay. Let's say entrepreneurship started at 18 years old, for
Yeah.
example. So 10 years of trying to build networking, like, systems and connections and everything, 10 years. And only in year 7 out of the 10 years did I get the opportunity, which wasn't a real opportunity also. And about a year and a half into that, only did I manage to close my first deal. So it's not easy. It's not easy.
So it's about 8.5 years since.
At least.
And without that, within that 8.5 years, you've always remembered.
Yes.
So it's something that was your core primary goal, and you knew the things that you lack, maybe,
Yep.
and you were trying to get there somehow.
Yes. So, of course, me wanting to do more, bigger, tougher things was always the big goal and big vision. But I've always had this thing inside me was like, we got to figure out how to get back into oil. So even if I was networking for my tech company or I was networking to sell the company and all these kind of things, at the end of the day, if I get to someone who mentions even the slightest of, I'm in oil, it's me, okay, look, can we have a conversation? Because I need to know what's going on.
So you were planting seeds
Yeah.
all around you
Yep.
while you were working on the journey at the same time. So no matter what you were doing, you were always on the lookout for
Yes.
something related to oil and gas.
Yes.
Okay, then this is consistency, and this is exactly how I believe purebred entrepreneurs get to what they want at the end of the day. Let's talk a little bit about the industry on its own. You being, would you call yourself an expert at this point? Like, how do you categorize yourself in the oil and gas industry? What do you call yourself? Or maybe if I were to ask you, are you an expert? Are you a trader? Are you a what are you in oil and gas?
I'm a facilitator.
Okay.
I would like to keep that level of, I guess, distinction as a facilitator. I wouldn't say I'm an expert. There's always new things to learn. There's always people with more knowledge, people in the industry for 40, 50, 60 years. But the oil industry, just like any other industry, the oil industry is a dinosaur industry, right? It is the slowest industry, I believe, to actually innovate and pick up. But right now, post-COVID, it has started some innovation and it's picking up. There is like payment systems, through blockchain technology and
Wow.
everything already. Yeah,
Interesting.
of smaller quantities and it's more private settings, but the oil industry is definitely picking up in different kind of aspects in terms of innovation and so on. So I wouldn't say I'm an expert, but given the fact that I'm in tech and given the fact that we're always looking for new things in the market, we try to keep ourselves, me and my team, we try to keep ourselves on top of things so that we also know like, okay, look, this could happen in terms of technology. This country could grow because they're growing in terms of technology as well. All kinds of situations. So we just want to be on top of everything and we can move from there.
So you make it your thing to know the latest trends,
Mm-hmm.
but you wouldn't call yourself an expert because it's an industry that's always expanding.
Yeah.
And there's always new things to learn.
There's bigger people with better networks that can literally close, like $60 to $100 million deals a month by just picking the phone call and calling someone else. No, I can't do that. But definitely me working with a lot of people and the kind of oil and gas circle that I have and network, I can also say that if I wanted to, I have buyers on hand and we have sellers on hand. So we can do that. We can facilitate deals. It's always just about requirements, right? But never an expert. Someone who's 40, 50, 60 years in the industry, one phone call, close, $100 million deals. It's different.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a fast-paced world and a very high-intensity world, I guess, if you're
Yep.
dealing with such numbers as well. Let's talk a little bit about some myths in the industry
Mm-hmm.
versus the reality.
Okay.
So would you say that you have been in oil and gas actively for 10 years, or you have been on the path to oil and gas for 10 years? How long have you been active, let's say, in the industry?
I would say active 3 years, like
3
solid
years.
full 3 years. Passively trying to learn, trying to grow for about 7.
Would you have a very good grasp at the moment of some of the misconceptions or some of the myths in the industry?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'm going to ask you some questions.
Sure.
All right. So, myth number 1.
Mm-hmm.
Oil and gas trading is easy money. You just need to hit it off on one deal and you're set for life. Now, how real and how true is that?
Not at all.
Okay.
Not at all.
Okay.
So it's true that if you hit it on the mark and you close the deal, you are set. But it's never set for life, right? Everyone thinks, because in oil and gas there is spot deals and then there's contract deals which go trial and contract. And everyone thinks that because it's a global trading industry, right? You can, from Africa, you can be staying in the US but living in Africa. Like your company is based in Africa, you live in the US, but then you're trading oil in like Fujairah in the Middle East. Like it's a global kind of process. Everything goes. So like the amount of jurisdiction or how fortitude, right, or how locked in place the laws can be is very gray area. It's very thin. So just because you sign a contract for 1 year and let's say you are getting paid, $200,000 per month, for example, doesn't mean that in the next month your buyer can find someone else that's selling cheaper and decide to just screw the contract and just go to the other guy. It's very hard to pull a legal case on anyone because
see.
they're always not. It's like blockchain. They're not centralized where they live, where they move, how they work, and all these kind of things. So it's an ever growing industry, and you must always be trying to get new deals and closing. It's not easy.
It's not centralized, you mentioned. Is that on purpose, do you think?
Yes, because some people who are buyers, they are not the, let's say they are not the end buyer, right? They buy and then they maybe distribute the oil to, let's say, government agencies, militaries, and all these kind of things. And if you are someone who is, well, this is a bit controversial, right? But if you are someone who is passively participating in wars because you are also selling oil to, let's say, militaries and so on, you kind of don't want to be known. You don't want people to know who you are.
That makes
and
sense.
So on. Yeah, because in a legal term, you are like a warlord. In some sense, in a more legal term, you're not picking up the guns yourself, but for the tankers and the fighter jets and everything, to go from one place to another place, you are contributing in that, in some sense.
Wow, okay.
So-
That's something. So the reality of the thing is not as pretty as it sounds.
Not at all. Not at all. It's a
And,
brutal industry.
You would you encourage someone to follow in the footsteps that you have, or would you encourage someone to get into the industry then?
Not at all. Not
okay,
at all.
okay.
Well, it depends. So for our company right now,
Yeah.
we are trying to, we kind of tank the major portion of things. And we have people, because we like to give opportunities, that's what we do. So if you have contacts that are willing to or looking to buy oil or supply and all this kind of thing, most of the time it's buy, right? Looking to buy oil because we have suppliers. You can come to us and we will cut it off from there. So once you bring the buy to us, we don't expose you to the realities of everything else. We just deal with your buyers, and when the deal closes, you get your pay. So it's like a job that is safe and secure for you, but you can make a lot of money out of it. But it's also very, very hard work.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. On that topic, what was the biggest or the brightest aha moment that you had when you realized, wow, this is not what I thought it was? Because since you were 18 years old, you were thinking about the jets, the cars, the money. So I want to understand, when was the moment when you realized, oh, you know what, things are not as simple? And why did you still go forward?
I like challenges.
Okay.
So for me, I think for men in general, things need to be a bit more difficult. We also strive a lot more on stress rather than being complacent. It kind of like boosts us, boosts our testosterone. I feel that way.
Interesting,
personally.
yeah.
But at the same time, I think the moment for me was like, I got in contact with people that were selling oil, and I thought, look, I have some potential family officers and so on, so maybe I could just try to bring and try to see what goes. And I realized that there was just not enough transparency in the industry, and I was struggling to close deals. Like we go, or like one whole year and we close like maybe one deal. Then like, it took me a year and a half to close one deal, right? So like before that, it was just a year and a half of mugging and pushing and not being able to close anything. So I think as the time progressed, I started to realize, like, look, everything has to be a bit more transparent. Pre-COVID, the deal was, if you wanted to buy oil, you sign a purchase order and sign the invoice. You fly, you meet the person, you're happy, you shake hands, you sign the sales and purchase agreement, you get your oil. Post-COVID, the number of scams have shot up also. So now everybody is like, look, we don't want to fly, we don't want to do this, we don't want to do that. So everything is through emails. They go to Google calls, they don't want to show their faces. So the lack of transparency is, to me, was the breaking point. And I realized, like, look, I could do this much better if I could facilitate buyers and sellers, get them to find a reason to need to trust me, to be able to share things on their end that is private and personal. And from there, like documentation-wise, that's what I mean. And from there, when we facilitate deals, it's much better.
So your aha moment didn't discourage you at all?
Not at all.
Your aha moment was like, I see how I can do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
The thing is, it's also because I generally don't like working for people. Right?
Yeah.
So just because I'm in oil and gas, but if I have to go to someone who then goes to a seller, I'm just like some third-party middleman kind of guy, right? I don't know anything. So I'm not in control of situations. And that was something I don't like, right? Like if the buyers ask me things, I have to ask my friend goes and talks to the seller gets back to him. It's like a chain of passing. And I realized, like, so the reason didn't...
Isn't that the usual scenario in these things?
Yeah, most of the time, which is why we are taking it a step above.
How do you navigate this?
There
could be like 20 middlemen, 20 brokers in an oil and gas deal, especially, well, not especially, most of the time they are cross-jurisdictional. So how do you deal with such a mess of middlemen and brokers and cousins and whatnot? Like, what's up?
So not with us, not with our company, right? So with Stratus, we don't do this. It's either if you have people that you're connected to, let's say 5, 6, 7 people that's in between, somebody better get me to the buyer or somebody better get me to the seller upfront. And if you don't get me to the buyer or the seller, and I cannot get like documents for me to do some at least basic due diligence and so on, I just don't work with you. There's no point also. It's a very difficult industry, very time consuming industry as well. So no point.
You mentioned the reason that the industry is purposefully quite secretive, or not centralized, because of some of those geopolitical contexts, right? The people not wanting to be known. Now, you are sitting with me here on a podcast talking about oil and gas, talking about your experience. So, are you different then? Do you want to be known, and why?
Yeah, look, because it's at the end of the day, it shouldn't be shied upon or shamed upon industry, right? There is no reason to run, no reason to hide if you are doing things proper and doing things right. I'm not looking to service wars. I'm not looking to, because it goes all, like, oil has to be used all the time, right? If it's not, let's say for the military, it's also for petrol stations, your cars, you're flying in and out every day. There's jet fuel, all kinds of things, right? The whole infrastructure, right? Construction also needs diesel and so on. to run their machinery and everything. So oil is a must and it's a need, right? And I don't see it depleting anytime soon, or at least I don't see the industry crashing anytime soon. And because of how our company functions and we work everything above the table, I'm more than happy to put myself out there. It's not a problem.
Wow. Do you know of anyone else who is quite active and vocal in the industry?
For oil, not really. Everybody tries to be a bit secretive, but at the same time, it's also because of the kinds of powerful people that are in play and the kinds of money that's in play, right? You can have one literal individual buying and paying close to $60 million US each month, and they can sign a 3-year contract, which means they have that kind of money.
Wow.
And that is just a bare minimum of like 100,000 tons. Some people buy 500,000 tons and jet fuel and other kinds of things
Every month.
every month. So they're spending billions of dollars every single month from their company, which means they have a lot of money, a lot of connections and power, and they have a lot of very powerful funders backing them as well.
It makes sense. You see, all of these money and funders, that's a lot of honey.
Yes.
So a lot of honey attracts a lot of busy bees
Yes.
and other kind of insects, right? So, I mean, I'm referring to the scam percentage in the industry, right?
95.
I guess it's pretty high, yeah?
95%.
95?
At least.
Wow.
At least. This is
So-
like a personal thing. Like if you Google it, I don't think it comes out. But like just doing this for a lot of for many years, 95, man. 95%.
So you would say out of 100 people, you would get 5 solid leads and 95 of them would be scams?
Not even that. Not even that. So out of 100%, 95% are at least scammers, right?
Okay.
And if you scale the balance 5% into 100% again, at least another 95% of that technical 5% are not even real sellers. They are trying to be brokers, but they don't have the capacity or the capability financially to do it.
I see. So they
So-
don't scam you? That zoomed in 95% doesn't scam
They
you?
don't scam you, but they're not honest. So
I
they say,
see.
look, I have product. They go to a buyer. They get documents. And then when they go to the seller, they say, I'm a buyer. So they try to play the World Bank and the Bill Gates kind of like, I mean, that it's not real, but that's that story, right? Where nothing is actually solid and viable. But they act as though they are either buyers or sellers. And then they try to do the deal that way. So everything goes through them first. So if they wanted to, they can mark up the prices to the people that they're talking to and so on. Generally, proper real traders will buy oil, mark it up a little bit for their profits and sell, which is completely normal and fine. I mean, everybody works for profit, right? But yeah, these are not the honest ones, right? They are not buying the oil. They are acting like they're buying the oil. So it's just smoke in the air all the time. So what happens is, if the deal has a little bit of let's say duress, things are moving a little bit slow on one side, the other side is making noise. Hey, why is it so slow? You have oil. And if the other side is going slow, then the seller side is like, hey, why is it so slow? You have money. So things are clashing and the deal just does not go through.
I see.
Yeah, so it's what
They're
honesty.
not very patient either.
No one is patient. Yeah, not at all.
I guess you would be dealing with a lot of high net worth individuals
Yep.
and a lot of maybe governments as well. Do you work with any governments?
Government's a bit difficult, right? Because generally government entities they cannot do business generally. So they always have like a sub company, but because it's a government entity's sub company, it's hard to get documents to process those companies also. And at the same time, governments not all the time do have the financial capability also. It depends on where, right? And then if you do want to be able to service the government agencies, it comes into another gameplay of there is already people controlling the governments and the countries, right, on the back end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some of those, like, I don't know, the cartels, or,
Correct.
the cartels, like,
Correct.
I don't really know what that means, but it's something that, before you came today as well, I did a little bit of research with DeepSeek and,
Yeah.
just tried to understand a little bit about the industry, and the cartels
Yeah.
have a grasp on certain key elements within certain countries, and, often it could be energy,
Correct.
right, which is oil as part of it. How would you even navigate around this kind of challenges?
That's the tough part. So it's all about connections. You must have men on the ground. You must know about the situation, and you must understand, right? Sometimes you can be part of the country's government entity, right? The company, but the cartel or the cartel, right, that runs the show is not even that country's men, for example.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I guess you would have a lot of loose ends in terms of verification because it is difficult to verify a lot of things.
Correct.
What is your SOP when you hit a verification roadblock?
So the oil and gas industry has to be very straightforward, right?
Yeah.
If you can provide us the documents for us to verify, great. And then you have to be very upfront and honest with us, and we will make it very clear in terms of conversations that this is not things that we want to get involved with and things that we want to move with. So if you're telling us like, okay, yeah, you're bringing in the oil, but actually when the oil lands on the port, right, the port authorities are not going to verify the oil first because the cartel members are going to go and verify the oil. And if they want to take anything, they will take. If they don't, they don't. And then the government entities take it after that. And I say, look, is this going to be a problem or not? Because I don't want you to have people finding me and so on. And if you believe it's going to be a problem, we don't do the deal. Just be very clear and very upfront. It's not worth your life anyways at the end of the day, right?
Yeah, nothing is no business, no industry is worth your
Correct.
life at the end of the day, right?
Correct.
So I guess you draw a line.
We always draw.
In
We have
certain
to.
places.
We must. Yeah. You will look at the money, and the money is like, wow, you want this. You look at the business growth, you want this, but you just draw a line.
With a lot of verification and difficulties, I guess there could be a lot of room for scamming.
Yes.
Because since it's very difficult to verify things, then you could have different ways and different tricks being developed
Yep.
every day. Could you tell me a little bit about like one or two most common, or one most common and one in the now? You know, like
Okay.
the current scam. You know what I
Yep.
mean?
Yep.
In the industry. So it's just so that we can give our viewers a little bit of a picture of what kind of bizarre things happen in the industry.
Sure. Most common will be upfront fees,
Okay, deposit or something.
deposits on something, and people don't know. People don't understand.
What? You are saying that the person who is buying oil, who has the capacity to buy oil, who has, $50 to $100 million or more and more, they would just pay a deposit without verifying all their underlying details? People actually get scammed this way?
Yes. The scammers are top level. It's different. It's not like the
Wow.
last time where we read, right, where a scammer is calling you on the phone and saying, hey, let me use, we can share monitors and share screens and all those kind of things, right? Not anymore, man. Like the scammers have nowadays the ability where if they track you, they lock you down, you send an email out to a verifiable source. Let's say your tank storage company, right? You can send an email out. They can block that email from going out, change the words in your email, right, and then send it out. So when you look at the time frame, it's like you send it out at, let's say, 3:30 p.m., right? But it's only been received by the other party like 4 hours later, 5 hours later. Scammers can, they go to this extent to do these kind of things. And scammers also nowadays are, so because with AI technology and everything, and even not AI, just the level of tech that we have, forging documents is super easy. You can get anyone's signature anywhere, and nowadays all the you can sign e-signatures and so on, which is already accepted legally by law in certain countries and so on. This kind of things, like everything can be forged and move forward. So the scammers are on the top notch of the levels right now. So they present to you documentation. They even buy old oil company websites that are, let's say the oil company has been like discontinued, right? Like, but the website itself is like, the domain is like 8 years old. They buy it. So when you do research on a website, you're like, oh, it's an 8-year-old company. Like, I mean, scammers usually fresh, new websites and all. They buy oil companies, they spend money so they can get all of this. And when you do your research, you see like taxations and all, and those are things they know how to cover up. Like, hey, how come you haven't paid your taxes, or how come you haven't audited in the past like 3 years, for example? And they have all kinds of excuses. That's normal, right? To figure out excuses to work around it. But the main thing is all the paperwork, documentation, and websites are all fake. So you will look at everything, do research, and be like, that's pretty
Straightforward. Wow.
straightforward. And okay, so because this and this and this is a procedure, I understand. I got to give you some money first so that you can, prepare oil. Maybe the oil is not in the tank. The oil is in the refinery still. You get allocated oil. So yeah, we be upfront, right? And they say like, it takes us 30 days for us to give you the oil, but you confirm can get your oil. And people who are not super well versed in the industry will be like, okay, that's probably the lead time. And upfront fees, 400,000 US, you must pay. Sure, we'll make a payment. We're going to pay double-digit millions anyways. What's 400,000 US, right?
True.
Yeah, and then you get
So
scammed.
they do get hooked.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, this is the most common one, the deposit, the early deposit. What about within last year and this year, this little bit of this year and then last year, what do you see that's emerging as a very dangerous scamming technique that is probably new and people should know about? Like the emails thing you mentioned just now is very
That's pretty
interesting.
new.
That's very interesting,
The
actually.
emails thing is pretty new. All these years of going back and forth with emails and everything, I think the first time I saw it was only last year.
I see. So
Right.
you would say that that's the most sophisticated.
That is the most
scamming.
sophisticated. Yes, literally blocking your emails, rechanging the word. So your email domain the address is still yours, and when let's say your tank farm replies you, they block it again, change the wording and send back. Right? They maybe put like a number change at the bottom or something, and then they say like, there is a problem. We need you to call us or whatever, and you call that phone number down, and then they shoot from there and they change things. So you look at the email domain. Oh yeah, it's verifiable company email domain, but if you actually call back the tank farm and say, hey, did you actually send this? And they read back the email, you're like, oh, this is not what we typed. So I would say that's a very prominent front-facing technique that the scammers are using now. They can crawl things back.
In the industry, there is a company called the SGS.
Oh, yeah.
From some of the little bit of research that I've done, this company is supposed to facilitate and provide security for oil and gas trading. It's supposed to verify the contents of
Yes.
certain vessels and certain storage tanks. All of that is again to provide security for the industry. Now, the SGS company can issue a report on
Yeah.
a product, right? From what I understand, and this report is somehow used for scamming.
Oh, yeah, all the time.
Based on my research. So, but I didn't really understand how and how does it work. Like, okay, so you have this report that yes, this oil is in this tank and this is the quality of the oil. Why would someone get scammed by this?
So the SGS report is pretty much the gold standard or the gold report for your proof of product.
Okay.
Yes.
The proof that you own the oil.
You own the oil and the oil is there in the tank, because an SGS report is only valid for 72 hours. Any SGS report that is given to you that is older than 72 hours is automatically not valid, and it's also illegal in the industry for you to send SGS reports out. So
What? How?
yes, so if somebody comes to me and say, hey, can you send me an SGS report of your fuel that is available, and I actually send it to you through email, right? I mean, it's in the industry, everything moves around, but at the same time, if you actually go and report to like the ICC and the proper authorities and so on, like the court authorities and everything, you can get I don't know, maybe blacklisted or get a warning and everything, because it's actually illegal to send SGS reports out. So you must have a co-relationship with someone, like the buyer and the seller must have some kind of documented co-relationship via the tank farms and all these kind of things, for example, to receive the SGS report. Because the tank farm is the one that will send the SGS report, not you. Just because I'm a seller doesn't mean I send you the SGS report, right? I have a tank farm that holds my oil. That tank farm is the one that prepares the SGS report via the SGS office and is the one that actually sends it out.
Wow.
Yeah,
very
so it has to go
interesting.
through that way.
So the people that would be requesting an SGS report, you would know for sure that that person is a scammer?
Not all the time. Not all the time. Sometimes people just want things their way.
Okay, so they know that in the industry it's illegal,
Yes.
but they still want it their way.
Yeah, they still want,
Because like, why not? It's faster.
faster. I can, I get to see that the oil is there, it's available, and I can prove. But because it's also the top level gold standard to know about a proof of, like your proof of product, basically, right? If you have an SGS report, you can top line scam anybody also, because then you just need to find people who are desperate looking for oil now, like spot deals. They need oil now, and they always want a quick procedure, which never works, like a dip and pay procedure. And I say, okay, look, I'll email you the SGS report. You have a look. If you're happy, you pay us 50% first. After you pay us 50%, we meet in the tank farm. We do another round of dip test, because you've already seen the SGS report, what? But we can do a second dip test just for your comfort. And then you pay me the balance 50%.
And that's how
upon
they hook them
injection.
in.
Yeah, that's how they hook
Because
them
at
in.
the end of the day, they just want the deposit.
Yeah, of course.
So under any circumstance, you should not be sending the SGS report to anyone within the first 3 days at least.
Oh, even longer. It depends on the procedure. Some procedures can be a month long. Some procedures can be like 7 days long. But
it's not valid after 3 days. So
that's the thing.
How could someone use it to scam?
So, they can edit you just have to edit the date. That's about it. It's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. You see
Okay,
the date, you just edit the date.
But the SGS report is a document that either way has to be verified, right? So when a potential buyer receives it, do they call? Of course, they should, right? They call SGS
should.
and like, hey, I've got this report. Could you please verify it? And if the date is changed, then they would know it's a scam. Like, I'm just trying to understand how it happens on ground. Is it the human factor sometimes? Like, they just, you know what, looks legit. I'm just gonna pay these people. I'm lazy to check. But like, you're talking about millions of dollars. Does the human error factor really exist in that way?
Yes, very heavily. So there's two main things that happens, right? They will send you the SGS report and you will be like, okay, I see it. I know the oil is there. I'm ready to move and buy. That's the first thing. Or the second thing is they go to because for them to verify, they must also go to the SGS office and they have to bring it there. So then the factor comes in play. Then the SGS office is like, how did you get this? It's illegal for you to actually be sending things out and receiving things anyways. So how did you get this? So now they are playing a whole game. But if I go to the SGS office to actually verify it, I could probably get blacklisted or banned because it's illegal to send the documents out. So I get someone who has claimed to be in the industry for 40, 50 years that knows how to look at SGS reports. And when it comes online, because of how good technology is nowadays, you can't even see changes, right? Like
Yeah.
Adobe PDF, editor, you can literally just clear off
Change
and
everything, yeah.
So they can't even see if it's like actually edited or not, the top side. And then the date is the only thing that changes. So we will tell you, or scammers will tell you, like, look, 48 hours, fresh SGS report, right? And when they send it to you, it's like yesterday's date. So it's like, oh, yesterday we got it, so I send it to you today, those kind of things. And people just look at it, over the tablet, the phone, or whatever, computer, and they're like, okay.
And that's it. And that is enough for them to make a 500,000, 2 million, 3 million, 4 million deposit
Yeah, some people go as much as paying 30% deposit.
for the whole
Yeah, so if the oil is costing you 60 million a month, that's 18 million people are willing to just pay. That's a 30 million, 30% deposit. And yeah, it's not the most common, right? Like that's why there's so many versions of scams out there, but it happens.
Let's touch for the last time on the scam bit. With a high percentage of scams in the industry, with difficulty to verify sources, what is your way right now of handling cases? So somebody comes to you and says, hey, I've got oil and I want to sell it. Or somebody comes to you, hey, I've got money and I want oil. What are your go-tos in terms of the early stage, verification process?
So it's either, so for us, it's a 100 or a 0. You either comply to what we need from you or you just don't work with us, right? There is thousands and thousands of buyers, thousands and thousands of sellers, maybe even the tens, maybe even the hundreds of thousands. We don't know. But the number is almost never
No
ending.
flexibility at all.
No flexibility at all. No point.
Doesn't it make it harder for you to do sales in this industry?
Yes.
Because sales is often about finding middle ground, negotiating.
Yeah. Not in this.
How does this work?
Not in this. I would rather, because look, I'm dealing with people who are spending tens of millions of dollars monthly, and I cannot afford to screw it up. I would rather not have a sale for one whole year and close one deal once a year, which will then be able to take care of us for the next couple of months, and depends on just how we work around numbers. That's different, right? But I would rather do that than to just keep pushing and pushing and pushing and going through, because there's no point. It's too risky at the end of the day also. So the buyer must give us very basic information first, right? Company CIS, their company profile, proof of funds, and so on. And then there's a lot of back and forth. I have to meet the buyer, or we get on a call, and so on, right? And if possible, we would also like to be able to fly and meet the buyer in person and do all those things so that we can verify.
Like the old school way.
The old school way. That's the best way that works.
The online way doesn't work for some reason?
The online way works, but then not everybody is as innovative or is accepting to the current version of what online can do. So you cannot say like, I want to do things online, but I don't want to follow with the online terms, right? That can make things safe. I don't want to show my face. We just get on some call. I don't even know who you are. I hear your name or your voice, and that's about it. And then I'm supposed to pay you 60 million US a month? No, that's not how it's supposed to work. Same thing with the sellers. Everybody claims to have a seller, but until you can send me details of your seller and that I can do some due diligence check online, on the background, and on scam websites and all these kind of things, because there is websites online that specialize in doing due diligence for companies. You can pay them a monthly subscription, and you can, for the next 1 year, for example, just keep sending them like SEOs, XEOs, and so on with other kinds of information that you have on sellers, and they will do the full-on thorough due diligence checks. You can do all of that. So that's what we try to do in our company, right? We try to keep everything above line. If you cannot comply with what we need to verify you and make sure you're a legit buyer or a seller, then just don't come to us. You can, there's again so many people out there, you can go to them and
Makes
find.
sense.
Yes, but if
Wow.
you come to us, we will close the deal. Well, things will be right.
Peddling energy is quite complex, huh?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
In fact, I'm impressed how you on the path for so long, and you don't get discouraged with the fact that the industry has 95% of scams. Um, something must really keep you going in it.
I think if you don't close a deal because you don't take the initiative to figure out new methods and ways that you can solidify things to move forward, and you just keep doing the same repetitive things
Keep
over
banging
and
your
over,
head.
yeah, for like 3 years, you will be discouraged, right? But for us, since we started, we were losing all the clients and everything because we don't know what we were doing, right? But as we progress, it's all about, okay, let's have a meeting, let's sit down on a daily basis, we do this, and we talk about what was wrong with that deal, how can we improve, what was wrong with the deal, what can improve. I think we have gone through probably, like in the course of 3 years, more than at least 5, 6, maybe even 700 offers.
Wow.
And yeah, and if I be very honest, right, we've only closed about 7 deals out of 700. So yeah, it's like 1%.
1%.
Yeah, but
Well,
also because it's big
but
money,
for,
right?
But for oil and gas, I guess that's enough, isn't it? Is that not enough?
Yeah, definitely it is enough. But for us, right, it's not solely about the money anymore, right? Now it's about the game. It's about what you're able to
More.
do more. And we, or at least as a company, we have a goal set in mind in the future on what we can do to try to change the oil trade industry.
That is very interesting,
Yeah.
and maybe we can discuss more about that in a future episode.
Yeah, definitely. Oh yeah.
Because innovation in this industry is something that I would like to know about.
Yes.
I'm very curious about it. It's
Yes.
such an old industry
It's a
with
dinosaur
a
industry.
lot of dinosaurs, and just seeing it being disrupted, maybe in a good way.
Yeah.
Could be a very positive change
Yep.
for the way the world even trades energy.
Yep. And that's what
Maybe.
we definitely want to do. Yeah.
Wow, okay. And you would want to create something within the industry that makes you stand out.
Yes.
And since you have a tech background, at least I'm trying to assume here that it would be something tech related as well.
Definitely. Yeah.
Okay. All right. That'll be a very interesting episode. All right. Moving on from the challenges and the scams encountered in the industry, I have a much clearer picture on how it looks now. Let's share a little bit with our audience about if somebody, maybe a young version of you, right, in today's world,
So-
not 10 years ago, somebody watches this and they do some research and they get inspired to get into this industry, even though you already mentioned that you wouldn't recommend this to anyone either. But if somebody wanted to, and if somebody had the character,
Mhm.
not have what it takes, but if somebody had the character to be in this industry, how would they do it, and what would they start with, and what would you say that their route would be to closing their first deal?
Okay. Grit is very important, right? You must be willing to accept the fact that you need to go through hundreds of offers before you finally probably close one offer. It can literally be 2, 3, 4, 500 offers until you close one, and that can take you one whole year. And oil is an industry where if you really want to get into it full time, you cannot do it on the side. It doesn't really work that way. If you have other contacts and you can just pass it on to them, and that's your goal, right? We just pass it on, and if things happen, you get like some commission out of it or introducer fees or whatever. When you're happy with that, go ahead, like a relationship manager or something. But if you want to actually make it in this industry and go big, you must have a lot of grit, you must have a lot of focus, and at the same time, it's also about networking and connections. If you don't have networking, if you don't go out and actually network with people, it's very, very difficult, because so much of scams in the industry, it's very hard to find proper legit ones online. Right, everyone is posting online. Everyone says they have a seller. Everyone says they have a buyer. Not saying you cannot get it done.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
can get it done, but your filtering
Makes more
process is a lot
sense.
more. Filtering process is way much more, because you can make one post, literally. I've done it also. You can make one post on like LinkedIn, for example, and then you get like 40, 50 messages over the course of the next 3 or 4 days from people saying that they have oil and they're sellers and all. So now you have to vet through all of them. That's one condition. So you can do it that way. But at the same time, if you have people that you know are in the industry, you can talk to them, network with them. You can slowly start to build your presence. So like we have one member of our staff, right, agent, who basically just sent a WhatsApp to all of his friends, and from there, his friends were like, "Look, maybe I got another friend. Let me just ask around also." And then they ask, and then they found another friend that maybe works in a offshore oil and gas company. They work offshore, so they do know some people, because in the oil rig industry and so on, there's people who also come and buy oil, right, from direct rigs and refineries and so on. And then it all one circle comes back to him. And then now, even though yes, the degree of separation is 4 or 5 people, but small little foothold, he got a contact potential buyer. And then from there, that guy's maybe like, oh, maybe I got more connects of other people that might want to buy, and it just moves on from there. So over the course of the next 6 months to 1 year, you keep on doing this, and eventually you will widen your network enough to get people who are potentially buyers for yourself.
And to get a real deal.
To get a real deal, it will still take a lot more.
Oh, so that's not the part.
Not at all.
That's not yet close
at
to the
all.
real deal.
Not at
So
all,
that's
not
just
at
the
all.
foundation.
This is the foundation. That's just you taking one step, not even into the door yet, maybe knocking on the door to be like, hey, I kind of want to be into this industry. So
Wow.
I'm trying to get in it. And then from there, it's all about big progresses, figuring out who really are actually buyers, because there's a lot of people who say they're buyers, but they don't have money and all this kind of things also, right? They're trying to play around. Like I said earlier, right? 95%, 5%, 95%, right? That's the gameplay. So you have to figure out how to move into it. It's again just a lot of grit, a lot of networking, and a lot of things pushing through.
Wow, that
Yeah.
is maybe a little bit surprising for me, because countries have agencies that do facilitation of trade.
Mhm.
Countries have registration offices. For a person starting out, can they just go to one of their government-linked agencies and say, "Hey, I want to sell oil. Can you give me some legit suppliers?" Like, is that not a thing?
No, not at all. So it's a lot of times these agencies are already monopolized.
What do you mean?
So, for example, let's talk about Petronas, for example, right over here. Petronas has diesel as well, and they sell diesel, but they only have authorized vendors that they work with.
Yeah, which
there's-
makes sense, right?
Yes. So if you just a new Joe trying to make an industry, and you go and reach out to them, right? Say like, look, hey man, Petronas, like I wanna sell your oil. Why would they want to send it to you? They already have their vendors that have been working with them, and most of the time, what people don't know is that these vendors are family-run businesses also. So they are a vendor already for 2-3 generations. The kids take over the parents. The kids take over the parents. So the vendors is already fixed in place. There is of course some newer vendors and some older vendors, right? And also it's about your jurisdiction in your country. Can you actually move oil, sell oil, and all those kind of things? So it's not as easy as it seems, just registering an oil and gas company to do commodities, for example, or a trading company, and just moving that way. It still comes at the end of the day, who you know,
Personal
how well
connections.
personal connections, how well you know this industry, and how much are you willing to put yourself out there to get the job done, essentially.
Wow.
Yeah.
Definitely an industry, and as an entrepreneur, I can only imagine the amount of fires that you have to deal with, because it seems like there is no blueprint. Say, many industries, many businesses, they have blueprints, or they have already a pathway that has been walked before, like, I don't know, e-commerce,
Yep.
even crypto trading, even what other businesses, like property and laundromats. Like, at the end of the day, there's some kind of a standard of how to do it, and there is more or less a clear pathway. It may be a very difficult pathway in those industries, but it is clear. But I guess if I'm right here, in oil and gas, no such thing exists anywhere in the world?
Yeah, no, like you can see like buying over small businesses and growing it bigger kind of industry. There is courses online that you can find. E-commerce, there's courses online, drop shipping, all these kind of things, right? But you don't see how to trade oil course, how to become an oil trader course.
Do you want to do one?
Kind of
this
think
point,
so,
yeah,
right? I
at
think
this,
I think at this point we should at this
yeah,
point.
at this point, if it's not there, maybe this is an undiscovered niche.
Correct.
Just make it like $29
Correct.
and make it a digital product
Yeah.
and just launch.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like oil and gas 101, 101.
Correct. Maybe
Well,
just
oil and
write a
gas
book as well.
basics. Yeah. Might as well write a book with it as well. If you do all the videos and all the recordings, you just feed it all to AI.
Correct.
And then it will come up with a book for you. Huh?
Correct.
Makes sense.
Correct. Ghostwriters, everything. I mean, a lot of things in the industry nowadays. So
Okay. Well, I'd like to ask one last question,
Sure.
Pradesh. Thank you for your time today, and thank you for being very thorough and explaining all of the nuances and all of the ins and outs. This would be one from your personal experience in the industry. Could you tell me about a deal that taught you something valuable, and even if it was a very tough lesson to learn, and maybe that situation wasn't a happy one?
Yep.
Yeah. Could you share one of those experiences if that's okay?
Yeah, sure. Don't be enthusiastic. Don't be too enthusiastic, and don't trust too easily. Essentially, right? So there was a deal. I won't mention which country
Yeah.
because we actually have more progress with the country now
Okay, good.
in our business, right? So let's keep that off a little bit.
Yeah.
But we had a country that required a deliverance of crude oil. They also had crude oil that they could move out. So it's about me being able to move the oil for them out through some logistics networking and so on. So that was basically like my first real potential oil deal that I was like, ooh, gonna get into the industry and I'm gonna be big from here.
This is it.
This is it.
I hit the gold mine.
Yes. So they said, look, we need you to fly in. And I mean, it's very common for this area, this region, right? And they said, look, we need you to fly in and we need you to facilitate the deal because you must come, you must meet the people, you are the facilitator, right? This was like 3 years ago, like the first time, 3, 4, no, this was maybe longer, right? The first time, and then I let go of it for a bit and I came back into it because of that situation. But basically, I flew down and I was supposed to get picked up at the airport to be brought to my hotel because it's a dangerous place, dangerous situation, but it's also a very dangerous commodity to trade because it's very valuable, right? Crude oil. So they were like, we have personnel and people prepared for you. We need you to come down here. We'll pick you up and bring you to the hotel. And when it's time to go to the ports and it's time to go and have the negotiations and discussions, we pick you up and we will go. Everything is done that way. I was in the airport for 3 hours. Nobody came to pick me up. So
You already arrived.
oh yeah. So nobody
Wow.
picked me up for 3 hours. I was waiting there. So I thought something was not right. And I mean, I was young, first time traveling to this country. I don't know anything, no proper cell network, no, like I'm just confused. I don't know what's going on. So I thought, okay, I'll just get a taxi and go to the hotel myself because I have the hotel's name to show the guy, right? He will drive you there. Sure. Then this one guy, he kept looking at me and he kept doing that, right? So I was like, okay, I mean, taxi, sure. Like every country, right? Sure. Got into the taxi. I had data. I had data barely, but I had very minimal coverage. And I searched for the hotel. So I was just looking at the path, like where are we going, right? And he went off path. So I was like, hey man, like we're going off path. This is not what I want to do. And he's like, shortcut. So I was like, no shortcut. How about I pay you more money and then you go back on the correct way? He's like, no, shortcut. So I kept asking him and he just kept quiet. At one point, just kept quiet. And I was like, no, this is not right. Something is not right.
What?
Chick, 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 the door. Couldn't open the door.
What?
Yeah. So
It sounds like a kidnapping or something.
essentially, yeah.
So, like those countries where the taxi drivers ride you off somewhere, like this thing is true. It happens.
Yeah, but for this is because the people that were supposed to deal with the oil were actually not legit.
But-
I thought they were legit.
Are you saying it's related to oil people as well?
Oh yes, correct.
Not just a random taxi driver who
Yes.
wanted to just mug you, which
Yes,
happens
correct.
frequently.
Happens frequently, but not. This was a full relation like thing because what happened was the taxi driver like stopped at one point, right? An open space, just stopped at one point, and there was 2 cars over there, And the two cars, when they got down, there was 4 people in total, two, right? They got down 4 people, and they had guns, and they were like, "It's time to go. You have the oil." I said, "I don't have no oil. I don't have anything."
What?
Yeah, I don't have anything
With guns?
with guns. So I was traumatized by that, most likely. Right? I was like, oh, shooked up, gone, and I was pale, and they were like, oil or die, and I was like, I'd have no oil, but I don't want to die, kind of thing. And then 4 big cars came in with like about, I think, 4 or 5 people in each car, so maybe about 20 people roughly, with also guns, and apparently those were the authorities. So there was a syndicate that was basically like the cartel, right? Basically controlling communications here and there, back and forth. And I also fell for the trap. Thought that it was a legit oil deal and I had to go down and everything. And they basically just wanted to get oil from me. They wanted to know, they thought I was the direct seller. So they wanted to know where the cargo was so they could steal it, right? But the authorities have been finding for these people for a long time and they managed to trace the communications. So they came and caught these guys. But I was like,
What?
yes. I was like,
Holy shit.
I was like, why did you wait until now? And they were like, if we told you about this earlier, would you go through with it? I was like, no. And they were like, there. I was like,
So they used you as bait
yeah,
to catch the bad guy.
yeah. Literally, they literally told me, if we told you, you wouldn't do it, right? I was like, no. I was like, yeah, that's why I said, hey, man. Like,
That is quite an adventure.
yeah, so that put me off oil for a bit. But then eventually I was like, no. This is passion. This is goals. I got to do this. So
How
we got
long was your
into
break?
maybe 2 years.
Okay, not for a bit. 2 years.
Maybe 2 years. Maybe 2 years.
So it was that traumatizing, that
Yeah.
whole experience.
Yeah, so that one
You really
traumatized
felt like
me.
you were close to, you know?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's
yes.
like, this is it, man. I
would-
have arrived. I has
I
arrived.
has arrived. Yes. Probably peed and pooed my pants. I don't know. I don't remember what happened, but yeah. So that was a crazy experience.
That's
man.
crazy, dog.
That was crazy. But that was my first real step into the oil industry, knowing how dangerous it could potentially be if you don't do things smartly and don't do things right. So
Well,
that's
this is
why.
a story you can tell your kids and your grandkids. This is a very cool one. And have you told this story on any other, social media or media outlet?
No, I think just to friends and maybe a few years ago wrote a post online or something, but I don't think so. I'm not
So this is not something that is, still painful or maybe traumatic for you to share?
Not anymore, but we do have a couple of deals coming up within that region. So I'm gonna have to put the big boy pens up and be like, look, we gotta do this. We've all
Alright,
grown and matured.
respect,
It's time to go.
respect.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Pradesh, thank you so much. I'm going to digest all of this for quite some time. Thank you for coming on Clear Cut Chats, where again I have the lucky and blessed opportunity to interview some of the most interesting people that get to walk this earth, while I get to breathe air as well. Would you recommend how can viewers find you, or how can if somebody wanted to know more about oil and gas, what are some of the sources that people, because you can Google, right?
Yep.
You can use AI nowadays,
Yep.
but information out there, especially with AI now, many of it is fabricated as well.
Yep.
So are there any legitimate sources to just read about oil and gas and understand what's happening on ground and be able to understand what's happening in the industry?
I think a lot of information on oil and gas online is actually very legit.
Oh,
Yes,
okay.
it's just actually getting the job done for the trades is not like. So you can search about the oil
see.
industry.
Okay.
You can search about the oil industry and you can get information about it. But if you want to search like, can I trade oil now, for example, or who is a seller and who is a buyer? Give me some connections, networking, those kind of things. Then those kind of things don't work, right? So you can get information literally like off like ChatGPT and stuff like that, right? You can just like scour through the web, have good prompt, right? Say scour through the web, give me all information on like the oil and gas reports for 2025, right? The geopolitical stance and everything, right? Like how does geopolitics play a role and everything? You get all the information and it's all proper information. Doing the thing is a different story. Getting all the information is completely easy.
I
And so
see.
you're
So in
able to
terms of
learn.
studying, it's okay to
Correct.
go on the internet.
Correct.
But when it comes to execution and when it comes to actually putting your money at risk, then
Correct.
you probably do triple or 10x worth of
Yeah.
verification.
Yeah.
And maybe you should also know someone from the industry, right? if you are someone who is stepping into it, maybe you should know someone from the industry or be attached to someone from the industry.
Yeah,
That's
and
better,
it's
probably.
better, and we also tell a lot of people, like friends and so on, or other colleagues that want to get involved more. Right? We always say like, look, you can search us up on on LinkedIn, sorry, and you can literally just search Stratus Trading, or you can search
Stratus Trading.
Stratus Trading, or you can just search my name, Pradesh Raj, or you can search my partner's name, Kaden Borhan, and
Pradesh Raj, Kaden Borhan.
yeah, so you can search our names up on LinkedIn. I think Kaden is a bit more active on Instagram and so on as well. So you can always reach out to us and just say, look, you want to have a conversation about this, and we're more than happy to talk and educate.
Ah,
Yeah.
okay.
Completely open to that.
Because
And
this is something that you maintained from your science days, where you used to teach
Yes.
people physics, and now
now oil.
you're spreading the word about oil.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
very
So if we
interesting.
can share knowledge and eventually they are happy and they want to also embark on this journey with us, become an agent and start, bringing in deals and so on. Yeah, we're more than happy to do all of that.
Wow. Thank you so much for coming on Click Chats again. You have a very unique story, Pradesh. And I'll see you on the next one.
Yeah, thank you.
And I will see you guys on the next one. Please subscribe, follow, like, and share some of this content if you found it knowledgeable and if you enjoyed listening. I'll see you on the next one. Ilya, signing out.